What's up? Hey, hello, everyone. Wow. So today we are back going to be talking about Survivor season 45, episode 6, the fake merge episode. So my name is Rachel.
I'm Alyssa, and I feel like this is possibly the best episode so far of the season. It was lots of fun, lots of strategy, lots of drama. It was great.
I had a good time watching this episode. I agree. A fun, great episode. A little bit stressful if you're rooting for the Caleb and Emily duo, but all is well in the world with the outcome of this tribal council.
Yeah, I feel like Shot in the Dark finally did something good, did something useful. So, yeah, it was an exciting time. At least if you like Caleb and Emily. I feel like if you like anyone else, this probably was very frustrating for you.
So we start off the episode. Kendra is sort of angry about last tribal council with Brando getting voted out, and she was blindsided. I feel like here Kendra faked it very well. You have to be nice in the dark, and then in confessional the next day or in private, then you can say whatever you want to say. So I think it was good. She played nice after tribal council because you don't know what's going to happen. But then in confessional, she's like, yeah, I want revenge on Emily.
And another revenge plot line that kind of came up was Austin wanting revenge for his sandwich. I swear to God, he talked about this sandwich at least 5 separate times this episode. And we had talked about that being a possibility, that Austin's sandwich revenge would come back. But boy, did it come back, and boy, was it mentioned like 600 times.
Take a shot every time that Austin mentions that sandwich, which is sort of cute, funny though. Like we saw last week, it brought up, and then now it's gonna be a storyline. We need Austin to get Kelly voted out next.
Yeah, for sure.
But here, Kendra, then when they do merge, she was telling old Bello that Emily was the one who flipped on her and Brando. That's why Brando got voted out. I do think this is interesting because it sort of puts Emily in this kind of weird, sticky situation. Because it's like, okay, sure, Emily like flipped. She was the third vote going with Austin and Drew, that duo. But it is hard because it's like you can't necessarily promise both sides that you are going to go with them because now people are going to feel butthurt when you don't choose their side.
But also, like, I feel like she kind of had to promise both sides that she would be a number for them because otherwise they're just going to try to get her out. So I think Emily did the best she could with that scenario. And, you know, burning the bridge with Kendra, like, there are worse things that could have happened. And, you know, it ended up not mattering because Caleb was the one that people went for during this fake merge, not Emily. Like, Emily's name was brought up, but not the same.
It is tricky to be that swing vote because, yeah, you do have to, like, butter both sides up. But it's like, it's so hard to not make people feel butthurt when you pick the other side and not their side.
Yeah. So,
But here, Emily says she picked the Drew Austin duo because she felt like she was brought in on this plan rather than told what to do or manipulated into doing something, which I thought was interesting. So I guess you can say, like, maybe Kendra and Brando were more fake there, or even going back to original Lulu, being told what to do rather than being brought in on a plan from day one.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting, this idea of feeling manipulated, because it's all about perception, where even if someone isn't trying to manipulate you, you can still feel manipulated. So, yeah.
So before the merge, we see Caleb, Bruce, Kelly, and Jake. They're all looking for the hidden immunity idol because Sabai got voted out with the idol. We see Bruce find the beware advantage and he opens it. It's basically saying the idol is buried under the sand underneath your shelter, which I thought this seemed way easier than the other two that we saw, which had multiple parts. Like, okay, Austin's decipher a code, do the little digging, and they couldn't find it, get the hammer, break the rock to get the idol. And then Sabaya's, oh, you have to get the coconut thing in the tree, break it, and then you have to burn the wax to get the idol. Bruce's one, even though it's technically not really like a idol that they have to do multiple steps for like the other two, since this is like Sabaya's rehidden idol since it's on Lulu Beach, I'm like, this just seemed way easier though.
Yeah, this did seem way easier. I feel like we've also seen like stuff hidden under shelters before,
Mhm.
whereas we haven't really seen the other two before. And again, I feel like with Bruce's, there was a really easy like explanation for like, you know, why are you digging under the shelter? Like Jake came up with an explanation in like 10 seconds of, you know, how to make it less suspicious, whereas the other ones it's like how are you going to make it unsuspicious that you're burning something in the fire, you know?
I agree. Like, it's hard for Bruce because it's around camp. People are around camp, but similar, Austin had to decipher the code on the like in camp too. So it's sort of similar. I don't know. It just seemed way easier, and it's a real idol, and he doesn't even have to like risk his vote one or two times to make it a full-fledged idol. Like, it is legit a real idol.
Yeah, if I was a conspiracy theorist, I would think that they planted this to help Bruce. So,
That's what Reddit's talking about. Yeah.
naturally.
So the merge boat comes. Bruce still hasn't found the idol yet. So he's like, gotta go look for the idol. But he does find it. So really, if he didn't find it, it wouldn't really do anything because if he hadn't had found it, he would just get his vote back because it's the merge and you're going to a different beach kind of thing. So really, it would just be a bummer that you lost the idol, that you couldn't find it.
Yeah. I guess we'll have to see how this works out because I feel like I wonder if Bruce having an idol will make much of a difference. And I also wonder if Bruce and Jake were as subtle as they thought they were being about the story with the ring. So we'll have to
Mm.
see how this shakes out.
And I guess the original Bello idol hasn't been found yet, since we haven't seen that from either of like their original beach or the new tribe swap beach. So guess it's sort of gone now since they went to Reba for the new merge beach.
Yeah. So,
So, yeah, there is so much beef this season, like we mentioned. Emily goes up to apologize to Bruce, which is from episode 1 of the season, where Emily is calling Bruce out on the barge. Basically, Bruce wants revenge on Emily too, so sort of hot water on Emily. Kendra doesn't like her, and now Bruce still wants revenge on her.
yeah, I think I'm interested because I feel like Bruce and Emily could become allies if Bruce can like let go of that grudge. Because I think what he said about like, you know, you were playing the game the only way you knew how is true. And I feel like she should get points for at least trying to make up with him. Like old Emily, who originally said those things, probably wouldn't have even tried to like mend the fences. But you know, Caleb's social lessons with Emily, I feel like definitely paid off where she at least tried to make nice with Bruce.
Yeah, Caleb does say here that Emily is his number one ally going into this merge, and she is the only one he trusts. So I thought that was interesting. They're still tight.
Yeah.
But for more beef, we also see Austin telling Dee and Julie about the amulets and sandwiches. He's still mad at Kelly and Jemiah, like we mentioned. And then we see the foursome here. They're like, yeah, let's vote Jemiah out this episode, saying, yeah, because she's going to flip on us, which I do sort of wish we learned more about what happened here. Like, why is she so disliked? She seems so willing to throw herself under the bus with like last week saying that she wrote down Sifu's name even though she didn't. It seems like she would be very much ride or die for Reba. So I would want to know like where is this animosity towards her coming from?
Yeah, I feel like Jay's story feels kind of incoherent. Like, I feel like we got little snippets of her, but never enough to make like an arc. And maybe that's because she was this like post the like same beach not merge boot. I feel like always kind of gets under edited because people always think they get kind of screwed. But yeah, I feel like I would have liked a more coherent story for Jay to like make this make more sense.
I also agree. I feel like the people that get like either swap screwed or like twist screwed or merge screwed with like the hourglass twist seemingly get less edited than other people. So it's like, oh, we shouldn't feel bad for her because we don't really know her kind of thing.
Yeah. I do think it's interesting though because Jay kind of took the fall for writing down Sifu's name when Brando got voted, or not Brando, whoever got voted out, but it was actually D. But I feel like Sifu still held a grudge against Jay, even though she wasn't actually the one who wrote his name down. So, yeah.
What we said last week, throwing yourself under the bus, not really a good idea. So we also see more beef. Bruce dislikes Caleb now because Caleb is talking to too many people, which I was like, yo, that is sort of odd because talking to people, especially at this merge stage in the game, this is normal, I feel like. And then Bruce is nervous that nobody is talking to him. Bruce says, no, we shouldn't be talking to these non-Bello people, which was like, okay, I guess very Boston Rob-esque, but very interesting because I feel like nowadays in Survivor, that is not going to happen.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah. I think one of the things that Caleb said is that Bruce is very old school, and I feel that.
Yeah, I can see it with this scene here, and he keeps on saying, like, "Bellow strong," and I don't know, I feel like even if you are going to stay OG tribe strong, you can still fake it with other people so that if you're trying to blindside someone with, like, an idol, like, you would have a fake relationship at least so they would be blindsided. You don't need to ice them out completely.
Thing is, I feel like sometimes icing people out can work because then they don't
Mm.
get butthurt about the fact that you like betrayed them. Because I think one of the things that we see happen sometimes is people feel really hurt when someone they thought there was their ally actually wasn't. And it's kind of like from a jury management standpoint, it's much easier to be like, yeah, I told you the whole time that I was going to get you out and I got you out. And that's just the way it is. Like, I feel like that can be an easier sell than, like, I had to lie to you because that's the game. Because it's like, even if people know that it's the game that you lie, it still doesn't feel good when someone lies to you. So,
True. I do think it's a fine line of like that jury management, bitter jury. And also, like, you have to sort of, it's like the relationship building. Like, we've seen Gabler be good at relationship building. It's like being friendly with these people enough. Like, you shouldn't just not talk to them because they're on an different OG original tribe.
yeah, I guess it would be interesting to see like how people navigate being friends but not allies, because I feel like there's some like tension between those two ideas. Like, if you're friends with someone, you should also be allied with them, and I feel like that's not really how it goes a lot of the time. So, yeah.
I thought there was some funny quotes here. Kendra says, "What's a papaya?" in when talking to Bruce, and then Katura, when talking to Bruce, says, "Maybe your leadership will help wrangle people."
When I heard her say that, I literally rolled my eyes. I was like, he has to know that she's like fucking with him, right? Like, there's no
Like it's
way
so
that
fake, yeah.
there's no way that he was like, oh yeah, Katura thinks I'm a great leader, especially because like they kind of know that neither of them like each other. So it seems like she's
Exactly.
taking unnecessary shots at him, and I'm like, dude, at least pretend to play it nice. Like, don't make these backhanded compliments. But
Maybe your leadership will help wrangle people.
yeah, I I also thought what Caleb said, where he was like, I'm not Batman, I'm Caleb, I'm Canadian. That was funny, and that was the episode title. So lots
Yeah.
of funny moments this episode.
And now looking back, knowing he's the title of the episode, you're like, wow, this is really fitting considering the outcome of this episode.
I gotta say, there was one line that Caleb said, and I was like, wow, this was major foreshadowing. Where he said, if there is a Lulu curse, it ends tonight because they're not going to be a Lulu anymore. And I feel like being someone who's shot in the dark was successfully played, like that definitely should count as the end of the Lulu curse. So
True. Our final two, Caleb and Emily, are going to reign to power soon.
yeah.
So we get to the immunity challenge. They're randomly divided into these two groups of 6 going through the muddy net, heavy cart getting sandbags. You go to the top of the tower and do the rope thing down, climb the big ball, and then there's 2 sets of puzzles at the end. So the blue team is Sifu, Drew, Austin, Julie, Bruce, and Kendra. It's a 4-2 split of 4 original Reba, 2 original Bello. The red team is Caleb, Emily, J. Maya, Dee, Jake, and Kelly, which is a 2-2-2 split of the OG tribes. Katura is the one who is left out. And I feel like here she picks the more physical team. She chooses the blue team to back, which makes sense. I feel like we've talked about this before when people had the choice of which team to pick. I guess you would look at the physical first. Like, okay, which team do you think will actually win the challenge? If both teams are fairly evenly matched physically, like it could be a toss up, then I would look at the numbers. So if they weren't, so say here blue and red were physically even, I would maybe pick the 2-2-2 compared to the 4-2 split. Because if you go to the 4-2, you become a 4-3, and you might, I don't know. It's a little bit trickier there. I don't know. I would pick a 2-2-2.
Yeah, in general, I really don't like the way they do this like fake merge thing where like half the people are safe anyway, because it just makes it less interesting, especially when the person does pick the correct side and it's like, okay, more than half the people are safe. So
and I feel like we've talked about this every single New Era season, and like so many people have mentioned it, but like, yeah, you're stifling gameplay by not allowing everyone to be up for grabs at the merge.
Yeah, and I feel like it would be even more interesting, shake more things up, because I think part of the reason Caleb was an immediate target was because he was the most threatening, and also on the losing side, where I feel like he might have still been targeted if he were, you know, in the big group, but I feel like it wouldn't be as easy of a like, oh yeah, we're definitely going to vote for Caleb. So
especially because it was very Big Brother-esque. Everyone was like, yeah, we don't want to piss off Bella. We don't want to piss off Reba. So let's just go for Emily or Caleb because they don't have anyone. We're not going to piss anyone off. Very much Big Brother strategy there.
I wonder what would have happened if like Emily and Caleb were on, you know, separate groups for this. Like, would people still be like, oh, I can't throw out Caleb's name because I'd piss off Emily? I can't throw out Emily's name because I'd piss off Caleb? Or do you think they just don't have enough clout as like just a duo to be like, oh, I shouldn't piss them off?
It's interesting because I feel like in the previous seasons, like the strategy, if you're like you unintentionally sing yourself to get down to like a 2 or a 3, and then that small group gets really far into the game because they're not perceived as threatening. So I think it's really fascinating here that the smallest group here gets targeted when usually if you have some stragglers, they're brought into the numbers.
Yeah, I wonder about that too, but you never know what's going on in their head. I feel like having the 2 teams thing does make it more like, oh, I don't want to piss this person off. It's not as easy as like, oh, we're going to bring in the 2 people who aren't, you know, a part of our group, if that makes sense.
Exactly. If it were a regular merge and everyone was up for elimination, I think they would be brought in rather than targeted.
Yeah, which again kind of seems like a case against doing this weird split team, half people safe thing. So
yeah. So with the immunity challenge, that net slide, I was like, holy crap. I just nets on Survivor, we've talked about this, is a no-go. This net slide looked like a great way to twist your ankle and hurt yourself. And like Jake was limping afterwards. I was like, yo, I'd be so scared to go down this because it looks like a disaster waiting to happen.
Oh yeah, it looks like a broken ankle waiting to happen. I feel like you could get a lot worse than twisted ankle. Just like, yeah, it's a no from me.
They were bouncing down. That looks so sketch. I'd be like, maybe you roll like a log down because I'm like, I would not want to get my ankles or arms caught in the net.
Yeah, I feel like they were trying to just go the fastest they possibly could, and I'm like, sorry, no amount of winning.
Down it. Yeah.
Yeah. So no weird. Amount of winning is going to make me give up my ankles. Sorry. Especially, like, I know this is worst case scenario, but like breaking your ankle can like mess up the rest of your life for like ever if you break it the wrong way. So
I
yeah.
think I've mentioned this before. Australian Survivor, a pro big wave surfer got injured on the chat on like one of the challenges. I think broke his ankle and like literally has not been able to surf since.
Yeah.
And he's a
And again,
professional big wave surfer.
yeah, it's kind of like this is possibly the rest of your life on the line. So
So yeah, a terrible. I hate nets on Survivor, but the puzzle, I thought the picture puzzle was very interesting. I was looking at it and I was like, wait, I don't know if I'd actually be good at this. I should practice this at home. Because I was like, okay, feather minus F, like ether. I was like, how does this become safely? And I thought the safe was like a tarot card. So I was like, tarot card feather. It was so bad.
yeah, yeah, I also I feel like I've done puzzles like that before, but they've been easier than that one. So
Yeah. And like I don't know, it was like the cow, but it was the sound of the cow. I was like, this is so whack. I would not be good at that.
yeah. Yeah.
But the let's see, the blue team wins, and so they get to go to the merge feast. Sifu here brings up Jay Maya's name to vote out because he thinks she wrote his name down. They have beef. Bello basically brings up Caleb and Emily's name here, and then Katura is like, WTF, why are we saying Caleb? I thought we were trying to bring Caleb in.
Yeah. The one thing I liked about this discussion was it became very obvious why Jay Maya was like their second place. And it kind of like when Caleb played his shot in the dark successfully and he like got all of his votes negated, it was very clear why Jay Maya was their next go-to. And I think sometimes there have been times where there was a revote and I was kind of like, wait, how did we arrive at this person as the backup plan? So yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, I also was confused how they got from wanting to bring Caleb in to wanting to get Caleb out.
It seems like because Bruce is pushing it really hard that Bruce just doesn't like Caleb anymore. Because when we go back to camp and everyone's there, it's basically, okay, are we voting Caleb or are we voting Jay Maya out? Bruce is like heavily pushing for Caleb. Drew is talking with Reba. He's like, yeah, Caleb makes better sense strategically because if we keep Jay Maya, we keep, quote, Reba strong, but just for numbers, which I agree with his reasoning there. Like, I don't know. I'd be a little bit sketched maybe to vote out a number, but if you think they're going to flip on you, then it makes sense to vote them out. But we haven't really seen any inkling that she was going to flip if she's willing to fall on the sword to say she wrote Sifu's name down.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think they also mentioned her potentially flipping last episode, and I was kind of like, well, where did that come from? Why do we think that she's slipping? So
Need some more information here. Austin also sort of on board with voting Jay Maya out because of the sandwich revenge. And then is when it starts the switch to Caleb here, he's like, okay, we would want more votes on Caleb, potentially unanimous, so that I can sacrifice my vote in order to get the real idol. Later in the episode, we do see that Austin doesn't vote and he does sacrifice his vote. So he has a real idol now.
yeah, I think that for Austin, he's definitely kind of playing a different game than everyone else because of the like needing to sacrifice his vote. I do think if I were Austin, I would have sacrificed my vote regardless, just because his name was not even mentioned as like a backup to a backup to a backup. So
Well, he was on the winning team, yeah. So like,
yeah, exactly. So you don't lose anything if you are Austin and you decide to like sacrifice your vote. Like the worst that happens is just that you do not like get a person out that your team was really excited about getting out. But
yeah, like, it would really only be a problem if, like, Dee's name was coming up, like, that's probably who he really only cares about on the losing team, and then maybe you wouldn't sacrifice if Dee was trying to get, like, votes to go out, but, like, here, really, he doesn't have that many connections yet, so it's like, yeah, water off your back, who cares who is getting voted out here, you don't really need your vote with so many people. Might have been bad for everyone in Reba talking to Emily about voting Caleb. when she's there, but it does make sense because Austin and Drew brought Emily in. They're going to talk to her, keep her in the loop. But Emily saves Caleb's ass twice here this season, double $1 million help. Before with the Sabaya vote here, Emily immediately after this conversation, I liked the editing here. She goes up and tells Caleb, like, yo, the votes are going to you, like shot in the dark level votes.
I thought it was interesting because, like, we didn't really hear anything from the Red Tribe about, like, oh, we might not want to tell Emily about Caleb. Like, they didn't even seem to think that she had any sort of allegiance to him, which I thought was strange because it's like, I feel like if it were me, I would have been at least a little bit weary about it, if only because they had been on the same tribe. So
I do wonder if they're doing a good job, like, downplaying their relationship. Like, maybe they aren't really talking out there, or they're saying, like, yeah, I don't really like him, da-da-da-da-da kind of stuff. Because it is interesting, like, people aren't necessarily seeing them as a duo. They're just seeing them as, like, oh, the two easy Lulu people to vote out.
Yeah, so again, I wish we had seen more of that, but
I also thought this scene where Emily tells Caleb was funny because Caleb is like, oh, what about Bruce? And then Emily says, Bruce is voting for you 100%. He doesn't like you. Sorry.
Yeah, that was funny. I feel like you can see kind of glimpses of old Emily and how, like, blunt she is about it. But it was funny, I thought.
Yeah, and then Caleb is like, oh, dang. So he's talking to Drew, Sifu. He basically tells them Bruce has an idol. He's trying to save himself. He's like, I am not with Bello. Bruce has an idol. I am Reba Strong. I will work with y'all. Let's vote out J. Maya. A little bit stressed here for Caleb because we love Caleb and Emily. I sort of do want to know, though, here, like, why did the votes go back to Caleb unanimously? Because it did seem maybe people were willing to vote out J. Maya. So how did it get back to Caleb before the end of the episode?
Yeah, I would have liked to see that too. But man, it was really stressful just because the shot in the dark has, like, such a little chance of working that I felt like knowing that Caleb was going to play his shot in the dark, I was kind of like, oh, this isn't going to work. He's just going home. So, yeah.
I just was like, J. Maya's going home because she got a confessional at the start of the episode. Tribal council, we see Caleb throwing J. Maya's name under the bus, which 100% makes sense. Like, your back is up against the wall, throw out someone else's name, try to save yourself. Good for you. Maybe Caleb shouldn't have said he was a big threat, but not a strategic threat. Maybe that was a little bit too much, but I think overall you do have to throw out another name because otherwise you're going home.
Yeah, I thought he gave a good justification too of why, like, to vote specifically for J. Maya. Like, it didn't just feel like an anyone but me. Like, he did give a specific name, and then also when he was kind of pushed, like, to give another name, he was like, nope, I gave you the name that I think should go home. And I feel like that definitely made him seem less like he was being desperate and more like he was still, like, thinking strategically about things.
Yeah, like, this is good for y'all, Reba members. Lower your strategic threat by voting her out. But Caleb plays the shot in the dark, and I was like, oh, dang. I sort of hope this works because this would be sort of really sad if Emily and Caleb got split up here. And I'm like, okay, he's got plot armor, apparently, because they just keep making it through. No votes are cast for anyone but Caleb, and they have to revote. This is a new record for the number, like, of votes negated by, like, an idol advantage since the Kelly Wentworth, Andrew Savage votes.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that not a single person was like, oh, what if Caleb plays his shot in the dark? Like, that would have been literally only one person could have voted for someone else, and it would have been just a straight shot. I was kind of surprised because even Emily voted for Caleb, and I was like, okay, I kind of get that if you, like, don't want to show that, like, you're together. But I feel like Emily's reaction when Caleb's shot in the dark was safe, like, that kind of, I think, blew up their chances of pretending like they weren't, really strong allies. Because Emily and Caleb both, like, stood up and shouted. And then Sifu was like, dude, that was so cool. And I feel like they were the only ones who had like a positive reaction. And I feel like Sifu could kind of play his positive reaction off as like, oh, that's just wild. Whereas Emily, I feel like, would have a much harder time being like, oh, I was just so excited he was safe. Like, there's no way to like make that not like, oh, Caleb and I are allies. So, and like, if you are Emily and you don't want to show that you and Caleb aren't like together, just vote for J Maya. She was the second place anyway. Like, sure, you're not going to get a huge strategic threat out, but at least you don't have to do the revote. So,
I thought it was smart for Emily to follow the numbers and vote Caleb with everyone else to like stay, I guess, ingratiated with them. You keep your cover because something must have happened at camp where they're like, yeah, Caleb is getting unanimous votes. It's not actually a split between Caleb and J Maya. So I feel like for Emily, like the chance of the shot in the dark working are so freaking slim that you're like, okay, yes, Caleb, like I would like to save you, but I told you all the information. There's nothing really left that we can do unless we found an idol or something like that. So maybe it's like you cut your losses and you have to work with like Emily needs to go back with Reba. She needs to get in with people once Caleb gets voted out tonight. So I think for her, it is smart just to follow the numbers rather than like sort of blowing up maybe her and Caleb's relationship by voting a different way. But also, there are so many people on the tribe. It's not necessarily like, yeah, Emily was the one that voted. Someone else could just throw a vote randomly and be like in a silly, goofy mood, and there could be random votes around.
yeah, yeah. And I feel like J Maya isn't like Sifu to be like, who wrote my name down? So, I feel like you still could have done it if you wanted to.
Yeah, I feel like for J Maya, it's like you can't really fault her for not throwing a vote on someone else. Like we saw Chanel throw a vote on Mike to keep safe from a potential shot in the dark hitting, and then Mike holding a grudge against her. But I do think with like a 13-person tribe, it makes it a lot easier to potentially throw a vote, especially if people were talking at camp like, yeah, we're not splitting, it's going to be unanimous. J Maya may have known that information, and I think I don't know. With so many people, I think it's easier to throw a vote compared to like a 6-person tribe where if you do throw a vote on someone, you could potentially be pissing them off a lot. But getting called out at tribal council, like Caleb calling her out, I don't know. That could be like, yeah, let me do something just in case. But 1 in 6 chance, maybe you're not expecting the shot into the dark to actually work compared to like a hidden immunity idol, which if they play it, it's you're safe kind of thing. So I don't know. You can't really fault her, but a little bit maybe you should have thrown a vote.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of those things where it's like $1,000,000 mistake. Where like, yeah, if you don't throw throw a vote on someone else, like it's understandable why you wouldn't, but also is she gonna look back at that tribal and be like, oh, I should have just voted for Emily, or I should have just like voted for literally anyone else. So yeah.
Probably. That would probably haunt you for a while.
Yeah, so
But this was
it is
fun
what
though,
it
because
is.
Jamie's shot in the dark did not like it worked. It was the first safe shot in the dark that worked, but it didn't matter because she didn't get any votes that episode. But I do feel bad for J Maya here. Like her face, this entire tribal council just looks so sad and defeated. Like that has got to suck so bad. And she tried during the revote, she tried to get votes on Emily, so good for her. Um, yeah, Survivor's partly luck, so that's just the way the cards fell, but it does feel bad to be eliminated like that.
Yeah, you could tell as soon as Caleb shot in the dark landed that she was like, oh, it's me now. So that
Yeah, I
probably
would also feel
sucked.
bad, like, if Emily got eliminated here after she told Caleb what's up and told him to play the shot in the dark, and then she gets voted out because his shot worked, like, that would feel sort of bad too.
That would at least have been like interesting TV though.
Yeah. So I do wonder though if anyone realizes the number of votes read in the urn because for the Caleb vote, all the votes were read. The second vote, not all the votes were read because you just need a majority on J Maya. But the first time, every single one was read. So I do wonder like if someone like Emily were counting votes like we saw in a few previous episodes, if they saw only 11 votes were cast when there should be 12 because Caleb didn't vote because he played the shot if people realized, hey, actually, someone didn't vote, there's an advantage out there, or something is happening out there. I would do wonder. Austin probably can't vote in the revote either then.
Yeah, I would assume so.
So I do wonder if anyone counted votes. I would like to see that next time if they did.
I think it would be really interesting if Kelly had counted votes, because I think, oh wait, no, that was Austin's other thing. I was thinking about, he just has so much stuff with like the amulet that now has extra power, and then also the vote to extend. Jesus. Fewer advantages, please.
Sort of funny if he gets the full power sandwich amulet idol, and then he has 2, and then he gets voted out with both idols.
Yeah, I feel like we do see that a lot. Like people who have multiple advantages want to hoard them, like just in case. So we'll have to see how that goes.
We love it. We love, interesting television is always fun. I'm very excited for next week's episode. I feel like the fallout here will be interesting. I do wonder, though, with everyone up for elimination next week, if people will still want to target Caleb, or I can definitely see the target shifting to someone like Bruce trying to get him out. I don't know. I'm interested because I feel like everyone says you just need one more day in the game. You just need to make it past this tribal council. Things shift so quickly. So, like, I think Caleb and Emily should be good. Hoping.
I would love for Caleb and Emily to be good, but also maybe you're like, well, we know Caleb doesn't have his shot now, so let's just try again. And we know he can't wiggle out of it this time.
Oh, that'll be so sad. But then hopefully Caleb makes the jury so he can still see him.
Yeah. So I do think that I'm still waiting for like the Bruce Katura thing to come to a head. And at first I thought that it seemed pretty obvious that Katura was going to be the one that would like lose that conflict. But it seems more and more like more people are not big fans of Bruce. Like he's making a lot of enemies, like with Caleb and Emily. So we'll have to see how that shakes. I think that Bruce's storyline is definitely coming to a head soon.
I agree. I think this episode, more people are being annoyed with Bruce, that it is shifting. Bruce might get voted out with the idol in his pocket or something like that. It seems like the tides are turning.
Yeah, so it'll be kind of spicy. Maybe Jake continues being Bruce's wigman and he's the reason Bruce doesn't go home. That would be fun.
Yeah, so let us know in the comments down below what you thought of this episode. Were you excited that Caleb's shot in the dark worked, or were you hoping that it wouldn't work and he would get voted out? Are you sad that Jay Maya got eliminated in this fashion? Definitely let us know. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you all next week with our episode 7 podcast. Bye.